Hey everyone, now that I'm good at drifting I decided it'd be a good idea to make a short drift tutorial video. Don't want it to become too long, so I'll try to keep it concise. Basically drifting is a technique where you use the walk to give yourself more acceleration than you would have had if you were running. Running has a higher top speed, but walking has a higher acceleration. So if you're not at your top speed yet, or you're moving somewhere else, then that extra acceleration can actually be better, and so you become faster by pushing the walk key. Sounds a bit confusing, but that's the inside of it. Basically what you do is when you turn or accelerate, you push the shift key and you get more acceleration than you would have normally. So here's me walking forwards normally with no drifting. Kind of slow, so now I'll try it with drifting. You can see there's much better acceleration. If I jump up onto an object, I can push shift as soon as I hit it, and you can see I'm keeping a whole lot of speed as I come through here. Here's without that. It's still good because I've got the X, but it's not as good as when I'm drifting. So that's good. And since it's accelerating, it actually applies for when you're changing directions as well. So here's me strafing left and right without drifting, and now with drifting. When you start pushing shift and how long you hold it down for is something you pretty much have to learn by feel. I do start pushing shift before I start turning around, and then I hold it for a little bit, and then as I'm coming out the other way I let go of it. So it's something you have to learn over time. It is quite difficult to get the hang of, but literally every time that you make a corner that's more than like 45 degrees or start moving or just start bunny hopping, drifting is going to make you do it quicker. So it's an incredibly important technique if you want to give yourself a good edge. Really lucrative to learn in terms of becoming a better player. And so like even as I'm doing these corners like this, I can use drifting to make myself turn faster, right? So like as I come through a doorway, it's good. You can hold it as you do like a U-turn and this kind of thing as well. So like if I do a U-turn here, that's without drifting, yeah? But then watch with drifting. It's much quicker. You can go around some doorways. So I highly recommend you learn this technique. It is quite difficult to get the hang of, but it's super useful. It makes you much faster, and once you get good at it, you'll wonder how you managed to live without it. It is so good. And oh yeah, there's one more thing that I've forgotten to talk about, which is starting a circle jump. I call it a circle jump because it kind of resembles the circle jump from Quake, but it's not. So basically the idea, or even from Counter-Strike really, basically the idea is like when you do a turn like this, when I do these drift corners, this is actually increasing my speed over 255. So here I am at 255. If I do a corner like this, if I'm still holding W and I just come into a corner with the drift on, my speed can actually go over 255 units per second. So if I were to start jumping at that point, that means that I've given myself a leg up into my bunny hop line, right? So what I usually do is I tap shift and then tap A or D, and then I start to drift in this direction, yeah? And so when I do these little bits, it gives me a little bit of extra speed. You can see I'm just getting a little bit more whenever I do that. And so if I jump at that point, then basically just lets me go a little bit further. There are some places where using that will make you clear bunny hop lines that you otherwise wouldn't have. There's one on Cripple Creek that I use all the time. So it is actually a useful technique despite seeming very niche. Of course you can do it when you're falling off a ledge as well, but there's no like, you might as well really. No reason not to. I have a theory that if you do drifts like this really well, you can actually move in a straight line faster than you would have been able to otherwise, like the AD/AD's technique in Quake. So it's all really deep. Yeah, it's a very difficult technique to get the hang of, but as I said before, highly recommend that anyone who wants to get good at movement in this game learns it. I'm under the impression that nobody besides me has gone through the trouble of trying to learn this technique. A couple of Chinese players were testing it out in the Movement Tech practice room when they had that on their server, but anyway. Okay, so that's all I have to say about drifting. I hope this helps you, and I hope you can learn to drift so that you can be as quick as me. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.